All right. Welcome, everybody, to our weekly live training. This is a special edition. We're joining you from Florida at a mastermind session. Tampa, Florida. So you know where we are. We'd like to know where you're tuning in from. So if you could leave a comment, say hello, and let us know where you're tuning in from. Maybe let us know if you're a wholesaler, you're a flipper, you're looking to invest, just buy and hold. We got a really good show for you tonight. We're going to share a little bit about what we're going through this week. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about what it really takes to be successful in real estate investing. So this is a exciting week that we're here.
Yeah,
I always enjoy these.
I see that you take a lot of notes during this meeting.
I do. So I can take notes and soak it all in, and then I can go back and implement, some of the things that we need to.
Well, we're hanging out with real leaders, I guess, really all over the nation. It's about 14 groups, probably, 15 or 20,000 investors are represented by these RIA groups. And it's the leadership of the RIA groups. And they probably one of the biggest topics is just how to help investors to be successful in their day-to-day investing in a very, very tumultuous and changing environment. It always seems to come down to fundamentals. The fundamentals in football are probably the same in 1940 as they'll be this weekend on the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. It is this weekend, right?
It's Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and Monday is a national holiday, the day after the Super Bowl.
So that doesn't mean you get to take off. What's that supposed to mean? Don't tell me that crap. Get to the grind.
Why not? Why not? No, we all know in real estate, we have very few days off. And so we want to show you how to get to where you can take more days off and work when you want to instead of when you have to.
What day are we leaving here? Friday?
We're leaving Friday, and we're going to fly back, and then we got an awesome day on Saturday. We're going to be back to it. We have
I think that's going to be our best meeting we've had since the group started. We started meeting live when? That was 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
No, we started this probably back in, it was last year, like around early summer, springtime when we started.
That early?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've actually moved locations because when we first started, we were in that one location for a few months, and then we moved over to our new location.
Right.
That
seems like a different lifetime.
And I'm excited because we just had our volunteer meeting last week, and we got a bunch of excited volunteers, and we got lots of people that are coming. We have 5 special guests that are going to be there. We have 4 on what we're calling a Millionaire Panel,
where you basically throw them in a place they've never been. You give them like enough money to have groceries to eat, and they're going to tell us how they would make $1 million in 2 years, right?
Yeah, starting all over from scratch. No money, no connections. The only thing that they have is what's up here between their ears, and they'll be able to build back up, become millionaires in the next 2 years. So if you're in the Houston area, come check us out. All of our information, how I can send you a link, put in the comments. But at alamoria.org is where all the information is. For this Saturday. If you're in Houston, you don't want to miss that. I also just got off the phone a few minutes ago with our other special guest. Her name is Amanda from Foreclose Houston. She's going to be talking about the data that they provide, that they have available. If you'd like to look into that, she's going to talk about the data and also what can we expect, because she does have inside information. What can we expect possibly in the near future as far as foreclosures are concerned?
What's so good about them is they've been doing that ever since the day I became an investor 39 years ago. And they dominate the market because their data service is so good. They are on top of the pre-foreclosure list, and they have trustee list and post-foreclosure. And she's going to do a little bit of a part of the meeting where she's going to go through some of the things that you need to be looking out for and what's coming up with pre-foreclosures and stuff like that. So it's going to be a super event. We need to figure out how to Zoom it for the people that aren't going to be in town, but no matter how good the topics are, the most valuable thing you get out of any RIA meeting is the actual networking, in my opinion, where you get to actually hang out and ask specific questions with people around you to see what they're doing and maybe learn from them that really can pinpoint. In fact, where we're at today, Vina Jones-Cox was showing us a flow chart that she made, and you suggested that we actually go through this flow chart. And this is it's very similar to what we do with our students. We start out literally on the left side of the page, and our job is to get you to the right side of the page. And that's the way she's got it presented. And it's almost like, if you want to make a great football player, there's not a lot of different ways to do it. You just got to stick with the fundamentals. You got to do things in the right order. Realize you got a certain amount of strengths and weaknesses when you get into it. Recognize what those are. Find out what position you should be playing, right? And what strategy, and then we just move forward. And then you try to work through the problems. And it's like football. Every play is a different situation. You know, it's 3 and 10, the 3rd and 10, or you're in the 20-yard line zone, or there's 4 minutes left. I mean, so we're going to have to, in real estate investing is so much like football, because you just have to adapt according to where you're at, what your resources are, and what the situation is. So,
and there's some similarities. So, pay attention here to what I'm about to say, because I don't want to confuse the thing. But, if you think about a football team on or any team that's on the field, okay, they have a coach and they have their set of responsibilities, and then they have the players, they have their set of responsibilities, and that's the same thing in real estate and being connected. There's responsibilities that we have as coaches, and there's responsibilities we have as RIA leaders.
You realize there's almost as many coaches on a Super Bowl team as there are players. It's about 2/3, and it's hard to be an expert at everything. And as you get older or more mature in this real estate investing, you never stop learning. I mean, you continue to grow. So do we want to run through this chart and talk about it? Because it's really well done.
Yeah, I was just setting it up.
Okay.
So it's like I was saying, there's responsibilities that we have as coaches, and then there's responsibilities we have as RIA leaders. But then there's also responsibilities that you have as well as members and investors of the community. And regardless of where you are, you play an important role in any RIA that you're a part of.
Yeah.
And, so we want to go through this.
We're kind of heavy on the RIA bandwagon because we've been hearing nothing but RIA.
Well, we're actually kind of networking too, like our meetings. We're kind of networking and building relationships, because any one of us in this room, if we have a question or something we're struggling with, we're all a phone call or an email or a text away from each other. And that's,
we're basically putting problems on the table. Everybody's taking a bite at it, trying to solve it. And probably the most important thing you'll get out of this meeting is everybody's phone number and knowing who's the specialist in the different area that they're
in. And this right here is also another thing. I really like this. I mean, I haven't even had time. I really want to dissect this.
I'll show you a picture of it. It's a flow chart. And tell them what the red means. Tell them what the red means.
Yeah, and we're going to put this up in the guides at some point. I got to get it done. So things you do or decide on yourself, that's going to be the pink.
Yeah.
And as we go through this, we'll show you as well. And then in the blue is things you study and learn at the RIA meetings and workshops. And then the green is resources. The resources you get by networking and partnering and everything.
And I apologize for the low tech, but we're literally sitting on the kind of near the balcony of the second floor of probably a mansion built in the 1920s on some old river in Tampa. I don't even know the name of the river. I walked around it this morning, but excuse us for our technology, but let's go through this. Let's see what we've got.
So the first column, and again, we'll have this up in the guide section here pretty soon. Explore. Okay, so let me just run through the top tabs, and then we'll go down as many of them as we can. So you have explore, learn.
These are different phases that you go through, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and then also breaks down, like,
Yeah, there's several different items under each one of these that you're about to mention. But these are you're going to step through the phases first, then we'll go through each phase and kind of expound on that.
So explore, learn, build, get, act, ask, do, and share.
Yeah. Right.
And so, for example, explore. What are your specific financial goals? So you really got to ask yourself that's going to fall on you. Like, what is it that your goals are? Because what I want to, achieve financially is probably totally different than what Ray wants to achieve.
It is
financially.
It really is. And it wasn't that when I started, it was more in line with what you're doing. But now at my age, it's like I'm working on a little bit different set of problems. I mean, we're still buying and still active, but now I'm doing things a little bit differently. And like you might want to be buying and flipping a lot more than me. You might want to flip 50% of your properties or more. I don't want to flip any properties. So we are different. And it's just because of where we are in our investing career.
But overall, no two people are going to have the same financial goals.
Read that second one. Because I want to.
The second one is, what do you already bring to the table? Time, money, credit, skills, resore's. But you always bring something.
Well, and Vina is a real genius at this. And she's copyrighted this, but the real genius in this is recognizing that, because like when we sit down with one of the first things we do when you're making that initial call with them, you're kind of exploring it with them to see if they're really ready to get in investing, or if they just want to know the best way to get the resources. Because if they're not a coaching prospect, that doesn't mean they don't want to stay connected. When you become a coaching prospect, it really means like you're ready to get started, right? You're ready to start taking action. And so we'll answer those calls for you. But when you become a coaching prospect, one of the first things we do is we sit down, we have 2 meetings with you. And that's one of the things we look for, is we look for what resources, what skills, how do you fit with the different strategies that are out there? Because sometimes, a guy wants to go out there and he wants to do assisted living, but he might have $5 million in the bank. Well, you don't want to do assisted living if you got $5 million. You want to build assisted living facilities maybe and sell those to operators, but you don't want to be the operator. But on the other end, if 2 pennies to rub together, you might want to try to find that partner that's doing it, and then you be the operations guy. And if you came to me and you said you were a registered nurse, or you'd have done health home care, and you kind of like that, and you had that kind of personality, then maybe assisted living is a perfect match for you. So that's the first thing we want to do, is sit down, analyze what they're doing, and then come up with exit strategies that match what their talents, resources, skills are. So
listen to these next 2. These next 2 are really good.
By the way, now the category of those 2 were it's basically, this is something you have to kind of evaluate yourself. You gotta take an assessment, right? So then you get somebody to help you if you're being coached, or otherwise you got to do it yourself.
Yeah. So this is still under the exploration. Now this one is under the blue, so you can reach out and get some assistance on this part. But both of these are, what exit strategy best suits your goals and resources.
Right.
Okay. And then the other part is, what are successful people in your market doing? If you put those 2 together, and explore those.
If you're a beginning investor, you don't know all the potential exit strategies, and you might know the theory of them. Like you might say, "Oh, that's the Burr method." But do you really understand the Burr method? Have you actually gone through that process? Have you actually done a master lease? Have you done a sub 2 or wraparound? What's involved? What's the risk levels with those things? Or if you just got to know a little bit more about the exit strategies. That's not something you can do yourself, because unless you've already been an investor for 30 years, and then none of this probably applies.
So once you get down to like, what's your financial goals? What do you bring to the table? What are you working with? And then you want to find out, kind of what do you want to shoot for? Then, you want to start learning, and we harp on this quite often. You want to learn, how to evaluate properties.
Now we're on the second stage, right?
This is the learning.
Okay.
So we're moving from the exploring stage to the learning. Okay, and this is where you want to learn how to find properties, what kind of properties to pursue, find deals, source deals, build up your negotiation skills, and just really focus on the deals part of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like how to value properties, how to basic property inspections. We did a bus tour, and usually within one or two bus tours, you can get good enough that you can guesstimate what the cost of repairs are, how to make the offers, the skills. Okay, and that's, if you don't know how to do that, that's things you'll probably need help on.
And if you do fall into that category again, everybody has to start somewhere. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't get discouraged. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Surround yourself with those people,
right,
that you can, ask those questions to.
Yeah.
So that's, the learning stage is pretty basic. It is important, but it's pretty basic because there's just a narrowed focus that you need to learn. The different things that we just talked about.
The last thing they had in the previous section was which exit strategy will you commit to first? That's pretty important, because when you're in that learn mode, you can't learn what somebody's learned over 30 years of doing something. You're not going to learn that in the first month, but you can learn. If you can figure out what you can commit to, then you can dedicate. You can, like a funnel, you can focus all your energy on that particular target and become an expert on that target. And when I look back at the guys that survived their first couple of years of investing, because a lot of them don't survive, and it's because they picked up that one way of doing it, and that's all they did. That's what I did. That's what all my buddies do. And the key is where do you have the most talent, skill, resources, and then we got to line you up with that, or you've got to line yourself up with it. Now, when you learn, you're not learning at mini storage, mobile homes, Airbnbs, Burr. You're not learning all those things. You're just learning the one thing, and you want to commit to it. You want to become passionate about it, and you want to be that kind of person 24/7 until you get it done.
So is that all you want to cover on the?
Yeah. I just thought it was real important to talk about that last thing under explore, because then when we're in the learn, the real important thing, I think, when we're talking in front of a group for 2 days, I might talk about 20 different kinds of investing. And if you're listening, you're going to get intimidated by that. And it doesn't mean that it has to be that hard. It's actually pretty simple if you can just narrow your focus. So narrowing your focus. So oftentimes people come to us and they say, well, I want to learn all about asset protection, and they've never bought a property. It's like, okay, asset protection is like the last thing. You're focusing on something that's not really an issue right now. What's really an issue is learn that topic and understand that topic, learn what you want to go, what your goal is, and then go for that. And don't let anything get between you and the goal.
So the third stage, okay, now is where you're starting to build.
So we've gone through explore, we've gone through
exploring, and then learning.
Now we're going to go through build.
And build. Okay, this is where you want to build your team, your network, your money, your deal sources, and your connections,
your coaches, your advisors.
Yeah.
And it's got to be appropriate to the exit strategy, whatever it is. If your exit strategy doesn't include assisted living, then you don't need to know about the assisted living rules, right? So you really need to know what your exit strategy is going to be. And once you know that exit strategy, and there's probably 15 different exit strategies you can have. Probably most everybody starts with the same 2 or 3, but that can depend. But once you're clear on that, then you're going to build that team for that. And that's the thing too, is like now, when I started, somebody would say, well, do you know a real estate attorney? And I'd say, yes. Now, if you say, do you know a real estate attorney? What am I going to say? Which specialty?
Yeah, which specialty?
One on tax sales, HOA, probate, bankruptcy, evictions. So which one? And which one have a good story, history in those? So there's no need to talk about HOA attorneys if you're doing the Burr method. as far as I'm concerned. There might be an off chance that you might know, but probably not.
Or another thing you might do is say, okay, well, what's the problem? What are you dealing with? And then that way you can, based on that problem, you might even be able to solve it, or you can know,
But if you're building a team, you don't need to know 17 different real estate attorneys. Right. You need to know, if you're just starting, you probably need to know the attorney that's going to do the documents. So you need that kind of attorney. And there's guys that's all they do. So the three categories we've covered.
So we're still talking a little bit about building, and we do need to move along here in a minute. But I did want to throw in there, CPA, title company, and then under network, colleagues and advisors, like he mentioned, mentors and coaches, and then also kind of under network, but this falls into the money category as well. Your private lenders, and you actually, there's three different types of lenders. There's traditional, hard money, and private lenders that you want to be in touch with.
Right. Yeah. So, and the thing about running a RIA is we need to bring those people to the table on a regular basis. The better and stronger our group is, the better and stronger and better diversity of these people we can bring to the table on a regular basis. So that's good for everybody.
Which a lot of times, a lot of our speakers, our guests that we'll have come in, a lot of times, they can potentially be, I'm not going to make any guarantees or promises, but they could potentially be some of the people that you might want to consider for that.
Oh, well, we definitely do it. Even our vendor list, we've got some great vendors. These are guys that should be on your team. You might make it better in the future by building one-on-one relationships where you can really wheel and deal with them. But you got to get these people pretty quick.
All right, so let's keep this moving along. Explore, learn, and build. That's what we've covered. Now we're going to move into a couple of things that you get and act on. These are small categories, so we'll go through these pretty quick. But you want to get some basic resources. You need to have a computer and internet access, and you need to have a phone. And it'd be nice to have reliable transportation, so that you can go be looking at these properties.
It depends on what their exit strategy is, but whatever it is, you're going to need stuff to get this accomplished. I don't know if any of these things that you can just do by looking at a painted wall in a room somewhere. You're going to need tools, and thankfully most of these tools are really inexpensive. I mean, where we're at right now, there's about 15 empty properties around us. I've already tagged every one of those people, and we're going to skip trace every one of those people because these are pretty good value real estate, and they're empty. And if this is like in our hometown, these would probably be scooped up. But I can tell that the wholesale market's not near as strong here as it is where we're at. But that's under the get, right? The get is like, how do you get it? And is it appropriate for your exit strategy, right? So, there's a shiny ball syndrome and shiny object syndrome. The shiny, and it's like, oh, I want to do this, and next week, oh, I want to do this, and no, we want to stay focused, and we want to make it work.
Narrow focus, just like you're driving. You want to stay in that one lane. Okay. And then the other thing it says here to get is, you want to get the necessary documents that are, appropriate for your state, like contracts and agreements and things like that. So there are some generic ones out there, but you always want to get, you want to get legal counsel and make sure that you're following all state guidelines, especially right now when it comes to wholesaling. Wholesaling is being watched under a microscope right now. So I would definitely pay attention to what's going on with that. So that's get. So now let's move on to act. And this is where you start looking for deals. This is where you take action. Okay. So this is really important, at least to me. It's really important because a lot of people, they say take action and they want to go out and they just want to do things. But the things that we led up to, the different categories, this is all, preparing you to take action. so you can go out and find those potential deals and make sure, and that way, you're more confident that these are potential deals that you're looking at, because you don't want to look at 70 deals and none of them be a deal. You want to look at 5 deals and maybe get 2 out of that 5.
That's pretty good numbers. One of mine was kind of optimistic.
So,
but the way I look at it like this: on the foreclosure list, we built a group who last month was supposed to be doing basic research and basic road work on getting these foreclosures. Well, we kind of got it started. We actually had, because we were trying to do it with about 10 people, right? So we had some bugs to work on. Well, this month, hopefully we'll move a lot faster in this. But my thought on this is, if I could work part-time in a given month and maybe look at 50 or 75 deals and end up buying one at the sale, that's a good use of my time. And if that's a good ratio. In fact, the 3 deals that we followed through the foreclosure last month, one would have been a good pre-foreclosure if we could have got to the seller. One would have been good enough to buy at the sale, and one wasn't good enough ever. It wasn't good enough as a pre-foreclosure. It wasn't good enough at the foreclosure. It might have a chance post-foreclosure, but probably not, because foreclosure is going to be snapped up pretty quick, and people are paying, they're paying really high investment to value. It's basically, you're going to be, and that's kind of like loan to value, that term I just threw out there, but you're going to be in at 85 or 90 cents on the dollar for a lot of these properties. So those aren't going to be it. And if I can look at 50 of them and find one good one, that's good enough. All you got to do is one deal a month and make you wealthy. If you do it right. If you do it wrong and you wholesale it and you give away the majority of what you're doing to somebody else, well, talk to us, because we have other strategies than just wholesaling.
Exactly. And so you want to find those potential deals, look and evaluate, and then calculate. And in the next category,
wait. Let's just, because they don't have this in front of them. So let's go. What was that category called right there?
That was called ACT.
Okay, so the categories we've done so far is explore, learn, build, get, act. Do we want any of our audience to take any action at this point?
I would say at this point, yeah, they would. By this time, they're ready, yes.
Well, do they have any questions they want to ask us or anything? If there's any questions, just let us know, and we'll try to keep an eye out. And so we just did act, right?
Yes.
So now we're going to do ask, right?
That would be correct.
Okay, so ask is, ask just means to run it by your advisors or your mentors. In almost every transaction, whether you're a buyer or seller, there's advisors or there's other people that are part of it that you don't even know. But if you're looking to do a deal and you've never done a deal, or even if you've done maybe 20 or less, you probably should be bouncing all those deals off of everybody. Audie and I did lots of deals. We were partners for 30 years. We still, even to the very last day that we were real actively working together, we'd still bounce ideas off of each other. And there's good reason for that, because if you're involved in the transaction, you get vested in it and you want it to work, and you get that disinterested third party, like, say in my case would have been Audie. Well, he's going to kind of talk me off the wall. He's going to say, what, are you crazy? This numbers don't make sense. Or he might say, hey, you're doing this, but just finagle it a little bit, change it a little bit, and all of a sudden the deal gets a whole lot better. And when you're the person involved, it's really hard. In fact, we teach at our negotiation class is if there's 2 people negotiating on something, one of you is not supposed to talk and one of you is supposed to talk. And the one that's not talking is supposed to be thinking and looking up alternatives. And at some point, you want to probably counsel with your partner and make sure he's seeing things. But you don't negotiate 2 people at the same time. But always have other people that you can bounce your deals off of.
And an example of that is, we've done several deals together,
right.
But one of our favorite ones to talk about was that big one that we did end up. That particular property made the most sense to go ahead and wholesale it. But when we were there in our initial walkthrough, and we were talking to the seller, at this time, I was just getting started. And so I brought Ray along because this property had a really, really bad foundation. And so we were walking through this property, and it was my buddy, my friend, good friend that I had known. I bowled with his daughter for years. And so I'm the one that I already had this rapport and relationship. But when we got to the house, Ray did all the talking, and I just, I sat there. And if there was any time that we got separated from the seller, I would always just, whisper something in his ear or nudge him, and we'd break away for a few seconds. And then, that's how you do it. It's, if I have something, and they're having a conversation, I'm not going to jump in and interrupt and take over. I'm going to wait until the right opportunity and bring it to his attention.
And what's interesting, at that point, we were pretty different levels as far as knowledge on investing and stuff. But it almost doesn't even matter. If you have somebody with you, a lot of times they're going to see things. It's sort of like a camera. And how many times have you taken a picture with your camera and saw something in the picture that you didn't see with your eyes? And having that person with you is the same way. They're going to see things and understand things that you may just be totally oblivious of, because when you're communicating with the seller, that's probably one of the most complicated things you as a human being can do. And then on top of that, be aware of all the other stuff that's going on. It's pretty hard. So don't hesitate to bring help or advisors to the table. If you're a student, then you'd be crazy not to get that coach step. But if you don't have that, there's still people out there that have real knowledge. And make sure you're asking the right people too. I mean, you wouldn't, for example, ask the realtor that makes a commission if you buy the property. If the realtor's got a horse in the race, that's probably not the best place to get advice. Or your contractor, like, oh, well, that's an $80,000 rehab. So he might say, yeah, buy it. It's good. So anyway.
Yeah, the listing agent, nothing against agents, because they're wonderful. But if they're the listing agent, yeah, they're going to tell you the ARV is this. They're going to tell you, how great the deal is.
Or the wholesaler.
Yeah.
Wholesalers their job's to be optimistic, and our job is to be realistic.
Yeah. And so we always go back and verify, use our own resources. So that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was the ask category. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to cover in the ask?
No.
Okay. Then the next category is do. Okay, so this is when you're actually out there. You go out and you make offers, you get in front of sellers, and you try to find those problems and provide those solutions, which would lead to closing deals. And then once you get the deal closed, you can implement your exit strategy.
I really like what Vina put here. I just see she's a smart chick, and what she's done is she's put one thing is in this. One of the categories under the do is be mindful of the exit strategy, because the exit strategy is this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the deal has to make sense, and it has to fit that exit strategy. It's not, it might fit the exit strategy. Because when you do the transaction, which is this part where we're making offers, it got to work. So we've got to know that everything we're doing to put this together makes sense. And if you understand that, you're gonna have winning deals.
Well, so let me just flash this again up to the screen again, just so you can see it. Okay. No, you probably can't read it. Okay. But it is copyrighted. Vina did copyright it, but she did also tell us that we could use it.
Well, she even said we could just take the copyright off of there. But I want to give her credit, because you think stuff like this is simple, but she's got it. It almost looks like this. I mean, from what I can tell, this is perfect. Yeah. She's nailed every part of it, and she's got it in the right time. And by the way, if we look at this, and I'm just guessing, there's 30 blocks on here roughly. You don't have to worry about every one of these blocks every step of the way. You just got to knock these blocks out one at a time and work your way through it, and you're going to be a real estate investor.
Well, what I was going to say is I'm gonna give her the reason why. Yes, there was a reason I was saying that. She is gonna get the credit for this, but I'm gonna verify with her and get with her and double check and make sure. And like I said, we're gonna put either this version or some other version. We're going to put this on our guides section at the top in our Facebook group, if you look at the top, it'll say, actually, this will go under files. Okay, not the guides, but it'll go under files
In the Facebook group?
in the Facebook group. Okay, but if you specifically want us to send the version that we end up posting, and you want us to specifically send this to you, leave a comment and say success. Okay, success. Okay, because it says what it really takes to be successful. So if you want a copy of this, write success, and we'll get that to you.
And you'll messenger it to them?
We'll make sure that they get it directly.
Okay.
So that's what we need to see. So we covered the new.
Well, we're making the offers, we're closing the deals, and by the way, the devil's in the details. Like in our office, making the offers. In fact, I'm going to be teaching a negotiation class to all the RIA groups, and it's going to be mostly about talking. It's going to be 4 hours on talking on making offers. I think that's March 26th or 22nd or something.
Yeah, that date does sound familiar because that's actually
But just so you understand, so making the offer, that's one block. We'll be talking about that for 4 hours, and then closing the deals. The devil's in the details. I mean, when you're closing a deal, you got to make sure the deal's going down the way it's supposed to. Like in our office, nobody's allowed to close a deal unless 2 principals approve the deal. So like if Aubrey, who's our transaction coordinator, says it's ready to go, everything's right, then either Justin, Jan, or I have to approve it. And then they get the second set of eyes. So closing the deal is also a little complicated, and depending on what kind of deal we're closing. For example, when we do a retail closing, there's 53 steps in our Trello template that we have to get right. So it's not easy stuff, but if you've got those steps, then you're going to go through those steps and you're not going to miss anything. And you're, as far as we know now that list continues to grow as we find out we're missing things. But I mean, I would say at 53, we're ahead of about 99% of the other people out there that got 4 things on their list. So.
And so the last category I think is the most exciting because the last column is going to be the share, and that's where you share your success and your failures to help others. I mean, I've got a great failure story that's actually a success. That if you follow what I tell you not to do, you can.
Does that mean you're a successful loser?
On that one, yes, I was. Thank you, Ray. You can call me a loser. You constantly.
Well, I was just trying to understand what you said. I got a great success story where I failed. So I don't know.
Call me a successful loser. You tell Brandon to shut up all the time.
No, I don't. I told him that maybe 3 times.
No, but that's a good thing. That this guy right here. I met him 8.5 years ago, and I did fall asleep the first time that I heard him speak, but then I got closer. Yeah. But I got to know him, and I got closer to him, and we've been working together ever since. And he really there's times that we have heated discussions, but it's all keeping me in line, and I pick things up from him, and there's times that I give things to him that he picks up as well.
Well, that's what I think. Those are the best relationships, because you don't take somebody's word for something. Make them prove it to you. Make them stand by what they're saying. If they can't, then they're probably wrong. We had a person accuse somebody of something the other day. It turns out it was wrong. And if we would have accepted that, we would have came away from that maybe going a different direction. We didn't accept it. We said, prove it. And they couldn't prove it. It turned out that it wasn't true. And so you got to fight for right and wrong. You got to fight for knowledge. You got to fight for the information. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'd rather have those relationships.
So again, what we want to do, in any way that we can, is we want to help you get from the explore to the sharing stage. Again, where you're sharing your success and failures to help others, sharing your resources with your colleagues, and then sharing what you have to get what you want. Good.
Well, that's really, let's hold off on that one for a second, because that one actually means means something special to me. But one of the things I want to tell you about sharing is somebody asked me to do like a little class on negotiation, and I tried to be a good negotiator because I knew it was important. It was allowing me to convert more, but I never thought of myself as a negotiator. And when I got in front of a group and I shared with people some of the things I was doing and the negotiation thing, it made me challenge my own thoughts on that, like what's right or wrong. It made me start thinking in terms of, well, this is what you were doing here. This is the name for that, and this is something that's probably worth doing every time, or something that's worth doing under these circumstances. And so that introspection, that sharing with other people, letting other people know, run a deal by them that you've done, and let them find mistakes, because that mistake comes with a $5,000 ticket or a $10,000. We tell that with wholesalers all the time. It's like, yeah, there's a place for wholesaling, but there's a lot of times where you can make more money, put more money in your pocket at the beginning of the deal and hold on to the back end of the deal if you know how to do it. But if you're a wholesaler and you think you're doing everything right, and you're not sharing it, and you're not letting other people critique what you're doing, you're never going to get better. And this last thing, I just want to read it. What you have to do to get what you want.
Share what you have to get what you want.
Yeah. So we're going to go in April to hang out with Peter Fortunato and John Schaub. And John Schaub came up with that saying is, when you give people what they want, you'll get what you want. And that's just so true. Like in these RIA meetings, you start helping people out, you get involved in more transactions. A lot of times people don't want to do the kind of transaction you're doing, and they'll hand it to you in a silver platter. So just building these networks and these relationships are so important. And if you're an extrovert, I don't have to tell you the power of relationships. You already get it. I mean, you thrive on that. You actually like it. If you're an introvert or have, a little antisocial tendencies like I might have, then you need to even try harder to get out among other people and share what you're doing, learn from what they're telling you. And you don't have to be locked up in that. You don't have to have those chains on you. You can unbuckle those chains anytime you want. And the best thing to do is hang out with other like-minded people and hang out with people who had successes and failures. There is nobody that's done real estate like my buddies and I have that haven't made a ton of mistakes. And that's how we learn. We learn by maybe leaving $5,000 on the table. I didn't check a contract once, and this is where 2 eyes on every contract. I had a lady working for me, and she filled in the wrong blank on the contract, and I didn't even know it was wrong because I never checked the contract. And that little mistake, it was seller contribution. She put $8,000 in there, and we didn't have to do it. There was no reason for us to do it, and we lost $8,000, not because she made a mistake, because as humans we make mistakes, because we didn't have a check and balance. We didn't have that method to check her work, and I should have checked her work. And now a policy is 2 eyes on every contract, and that second set of eyes, your job is to look for those mistakes, and that's what you want to do. You want to get involved in those kinds of situations where you have people helping you out and that have your back and are looking at what you're doing. So, man, that was pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that is, just going through this, we had seen this and we looked over it a little bit, earlier in the week, but actually going through it, that was a really good exercise.
It seems simple, everything we talk about, and we take a lot of these things for granted. If I could tell you, as being in real leadership role for a long time now, how many people never get started on the deals because they're trying to eat that elephant in one bite. And right in the way Venus got this set up is it's basically find out who you are, find out what you can get done, explore, have somebody help you with what the different exit strategies are, pick the one that's got the best shot of working. Throw away 99% of all the other stuff that's out there, because all you need is that 1%, and just master that 1% and just work your way through it. In fact, when we were talking to a guy in this group this afternoon, the guy was like overwhelmed because everybody's throwing so many ideas out there. And he said, well, how do I accomplish this specific goal? And boom, he had so much input, and he had literally steps. He says, okay, good, I can do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And all of a sudden it's like what was overwhelming and like wearing concrete shoes, it's like, I can do this.
He went from overwhelmed to motivated and excited.
Yes, yeah, and really in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good transformation. I like it.
And that could have been, if you just changed the roles there, it could have been somebody looking at their first deal and talking to somebody, that has been, they've done 15 or 20 or 50 deals.
Right.
And just having that support and having those extra eyes and ears and different perspectives, that they were able to accomplish what they did.
One of the things here is ask your advisor or your coach. I still make mistakes. After hundreds of deals down, I still make a mistake probably on every deal. Something I overlook, something I get too lazy on, something that I know better, something I'm not paying a right amount of attention to. And these guys that are coming to play for the Super Bowl, they're going to have like 30 coaches. Those coaches are going to get out there and show them, hey, it's the basics. Focus on the basics. This is not complicated. Just don't take your eye off the ball and just narrow your focus. And the coach is really the role of the coach is to keep the person on track. And these guys that are you're watching the elite football players, and they still make stupid mistakes. And that's all of us do that. And so you definitely have to have that person, that partner, that spouse. You want to include them in it because it's just too easy to miss things. I am so thankful for my wife. She picks up things all the time. Now, sometimes her delivery's not real good. She might really put me down and make me feel like I'm 2 inches tall, but she's got our best interests at heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like my best interests are her best interests. Anyway, I'll ramble on. I guess down the rabbit hole with Ray.
Down the rabbit hole with Ray. But back to the mistakes, the guys that are going to be making these stupid mistakes on Sunday, that's when the guys in the striped shirt will throw one of the yellow flags out.
And it can be one mistake and cost the whole game. It can literally change it can change careers.
Yeah, it can change the momentum of the game. I'm still not a believer that one play can affect the whole game, but it can definitely change the momentum. That I do agree.
One bad call. I mean, what? You might say, well, they should have won. They shouldn't have gotten in a position where a field goal beat them. But on the other hand, a field goal can beat them because somebody moves too quick or makes a stupid mistake. That's the way this is. I mean, you just gotta have somebody on your team.
So all in all, guys, we're about to wrap up. This is your roadmap. We're going to get this out for the people that may or may not have been listening a few minutes ago. If you want a copy of this sheet here, this is going to guide you where you need to go. Comment success, and I'll make sure that I get it directly to you. This is going to go up in our files tab, but I'll also directly send it to you if you comment success. And that's really all I got. Well, it was
a great idea to go through this. I like it. And we've wrapped up pretty quick. We might still have some pizza left downstairs.
Maybe. Maybe some cold pizza. Hal, did there any questions come through, or is there any questions? We'll hang around for about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay, well, cool.
So yeah, again, if you're in the Houston area on Saturday, you definitely want to come by. That's going to be a special meeting. I'm excited. I know our volunteers are excited.
There's going to be gift cards. I think all our vendors, we have about 8 or 9 vendors bring gift cards.
Well, some of them, I don't know the exact count on that, but some of our vendors will be bringing gift cards that will be given away as door prizes. And we got a special announcement that we're going to be talking about there. And then we have our special guest, like I mentioned, the foreclosed Houston owner, Amanda. She's going to be there. And then our 4 guests, which are going to be It's actually 4.
Okay, cool.
So let me just give a quick preview of who our guests are. There's
Now, a lot of these people you won't know because these guys are quietly doing their business.
a couple of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a guy named Steve Dancer. He's an investor and a builder, super successful. Done a little bit of everything. And then we have a guy. His name is Chewy. We actually met him in Florida in Key West at the Hero Conference.
Oh, cool.
And so we stayed in touch with him. He's another super successful guy. I love talking to him. His different perspectives are just amazing.
So
he's been in it.
Will I be the MC in this?
Yes, you will.
So he's the kind of guy that will pick on me more than I pick on him.
Possibly.
Okay. Well,
but he's got some really good perspectives. And then we have Mr. Tom is going to be there, and if you've been to our meetings, Mr. Tom is a really good friend of ours.
Yeah, him and I started at the same time. Basically, did the same kind of business.
And then another friend that we have that's going to be there is known, pretty well around Houston. A.G. Gupta is going to be joining us.
I've watched him start. It wasn't that long ago that he started, and it's amazing how he's evolved and how he's grown. And I'm pretty proud to see what he's accomplished. He's really accomplished a lot. So he'll be good.
So you're in the Houston area, come see us Saturday. We'll be excited to meet you and let you know how we can help you. And then, just get some great, bring a pen and paper so you can take some notes on Saturday, because it's going to be.
Bring some cards because we're hoping to get some serious networking.
Yeah, bring your business cards. The doors are going to open at 8:30. We're going to have about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes of networking. So you definitely want to start building those contacts and building those relationships.
Who's doing the radio show?
The radio show is to be announced for that. That'll be Saturday morning. So that's our show for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys later. Have a good evening.